It was a cool autumn evening as Leonardo DiCaprio's sleek black SUV rolled up to the south entrance of Buckingham Palace. Floodlights washed the facade in a soft, golden glow, casting long shadows across the cobblestones. Camera flashes from the waiting paparazzi erupted like distant thunderclaps when DiCaprio stepped onto the red carpet in his midnight blue tuxedo. He offered a polite nod, then slipped past the crowd with the ease of a man who had learned over decades in the spotlight how to arrive without making an entrance. Tonight's gala was pitched as a high-profile conservation fundraiser, a joint effort by the British royal family and leading Hollywood advocates to fight illegal wildlife trafficking. But DiCaprio's purpose went far deeper than simply delivering a speech. As the doors closed behind him, DiCaprio's sharp brown eyes surveyed the grand foyer. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and an undercurrent of hushed conversation among diplomats, environmentalists, and aristocrats. Somewhere out of sight, Queen Elizabeth II would soon take the dais to address the assembled crowd. DiCaprio paused only for a second to smile at a camera before slipping down an ornate corridor marked "Staff Only." No security guard blocked his path. Tonight he wasn't here as a celebrity guest, he was here because an anonymous note had arrived at his hotel just 24 hours earlier. "Look for Prince Harry tonight. He has urgent information about Sir Roland Chalmers." Meanwhile, at a different entrance several yards away, Prince Harry emerged from an unmarked Land Rover in a charcoal gray suit with his shirt collar deliberately left open. He carried no entourage, only a slim envelope embossed with the royal insignia, containing an encrypted email chain that linked a high-ranking palace official to Chalmers's illicit Ivory networks. Keeping his movements quiet, Harry slipped inside a service door and vanished into the bowels of Buckingham Palace. None of the 1,000 or so gala attendees suspected that their co-host, the Queen's second son, had already abandoned the glittering ballroom to pursue a secret of his own. When DiCaprio found the narrow staff corridor, he turned left and followed a small sign reading "Library, Authorized Personnel Only." The door, surprisingly, was unlocked. Inside, a dimly lit room lined with towering mahogany bookshelves waited. A single banker's lamp glowed over a polished oak table, illuminating a scattering of leather-bound volumes. DiCaprio's breath caught for a moment as he stepped over a stray copy of Audubon's Birds of America. This was not part of the official gala tour. He took a steady pulse and tapped the table gently to draw someone's attention. Almost immediately, Prince Harry appeared from a side alcove, his expression taut. He stood with his back to the shelves, scanning the shadows before stepping forward with a measured pace. "Leo," Harry said quietly, his voice edged with urgency. "You got my message." DiCaprio nodded, his lips pressed into a thin line. "Just now, show me what you found." Without hesitation, Harry placed the embossed envelope on the table and opened it. Inside were email transcripts, financial statements, and photos. The emails traced a pattern of large, unexplained donations flowing from a Green Earth Foundation account into a shell company registered in Istanbul. The recipient, as DiCaprio already suspected, was Sir Roland Chalmers, a billionaire known for his philanthropic face, but whispered about behind closed doors as one of the world's top ivory traffickers. DiCaprio leaned over the lamp's halo of light and read a line that made his jaw tighten. "Chalmers, ensure our advisor smuggles the shipment via diplomatic cargo, no questions." He looked up at Harry. "Our advisor, meaning someone inside the palace itself?" Harry nodded. "One of my father's most trusted aides. I won't name names until we're sure, but the bottom line is this: those charitable donations balancing the books are a sham. The palace is unwittingly or complicitly aiding an elephant poaching cartel." DiCaprio ran a hand through his hair. "We need proof," he said. "Something more than emails." Harry's eyes flicked to the doorway. "I agree. That's why I came down here. I mapped out a hidden path to the storage vault, where Chalmers's logging of contraband shipments is kept. It's under the palace's private quayside, accessible only through the servants' tunnels, and through a corridor that even most staff don't know about." DiCaprio's breath quickened. "You want to break into a royal vault?" "I don't see another way," Harry replied. "We have 15 minutes before the gala's keynote speech. After that, security will sweep this entire wing. You'll have to trust me." With no further discussion, Harry folded the email printouts, tucked them into his jacket, and flicked off the lamp. The library fell into darkness. DiCaprio felt a prickle at the back of his neck. Tonight, he told himself, was not a movie set. This was very real, and the stakes could not be higher. They moved quickly through the staff corridor, avoiding housekeeping carts and veering left at an unmarked door that led to a narrow stone staircase. Their footsteps echoed as they descended. The walls closed in, lined with old service pipes and faded red warning signs. The air grew cooler. Harry paused at a metal door with a brass plaque, "Service Elevator." It was locked, but he produced a small card engraved with palace crests. Slipping it into the reader, he heard a click. When the elevator doors parted, DiCaprio braced himself inside. The car rattled downward, carrying them 2 floors below the basement where temperature-controlled vaults lay behind reinforced steel doors. At the bottom, a dim emergency lamp cast a sickly glow over a corridor strewn with mops and janitorial supplies. "This way," Harry whispered, guiding DiCaprio down a side corridor that branched off toward the River Thames shore. They came to a locked door, marked only with a small embossed crest, no sign of its contents. Harry inserted the card again, and it swung open. Inside was a compact vault room, with shelves lining the walls, each labeled with cryptic codes. On the far side, a large steel safe sat in a recessed nook. Harry approached it, scanning the combination dials. He turned to DiCaprio. "Stand back." He began dialing a series of numbers he'd memorized this afternoon. The safe door popped open. Inside, clear plastic bins held stacks of folders labeled Ivory Shipment, July 2023, Chalmers Estates Account Ledger, and Green Earth Foundation Annual Audit. DiCaprio had seen enough. "We've got it," he murmured, reaching for his phone to start recording. Harry then grabbed 2 of the plastic bins. "We'll need to get these out without setting off the alarm. There's a silent sensor on the doorway. I'll disable it, but we must move fast." As Harry pried the sensor plate from the wall, DiCaprio pulled on a surgical mask he'd kept in his tuxedo pocket. "Silent as a cat," he whispered. Harry's fingers flew across a small terminal in the wall, blacking out the immediate corridor's motion sensors. "Okay, 5 minutes until backups kick in," he said. "After that they'll know something's wrong." They tucked the bins under their arms. Harry hit the door close button, and they slipped back into the service corridor, just as a pair of uniformed guards made their rounds. The guards paused at the vault door, looked at each other, then turned away, unaware that 2 of their treasures were being removed. Down the stairs they raced. The elevator was locked again, but Harry punched in a second code to override the security lockout. The doors opened, freeing them to return to the main level. Back in the staff corridor, DiCaprio's heart pounded so loudly, he worried the guards in the ballroom might hear. Harry guided him to a narrow door, marked Restricted Access Kitchen. They pushed through and emerged into a bustling catering hallway. Cooks and servers wheeled trays of hors d'oeuvres past them, smoked salmon pastries, caviar-topped blinis, and tepid white wine in saucer glasses. A plate brushed against DiCaprio's sleeve. He froze, but Harry slipped past him, ducking behind a row of stacked linen carts. DiCaprio followed closely. Moments later, they reached a hidden service exit that led to a secluded corner of the ballroom itself. The main hall was alive with polite applause as the Queen concluded her speech. DiCaprio and Harry stayed against the far wall, blending in with servers holding trays. Chalmers himself stood at a high table, shaking hands with a gilded official. His face was the picture of refined confidence, slicked back hair, a tuxedo with tails that ended just above polished shoes. As Chalmers took a glass of Dom Perignon, DiCaprio fixed his gaze on him. Every nerve in his body buzzed with the intention to expose this man's sins. Harry pulled DiCaprio aside to a small alcove behind a grand piano. "We need to stage this right. When I give the signal, start broadcasting that video feed to as many outlets as possible. BBC, Sky News, YouTube Live. No turning back." DiCaprio slipped his phone into a discreet arm holster. He tapped live on the camera app and checked the bins under his arms. They needed a legitimate cover story. Harry adjusted his lapel microphone on a hidden press feed line. "I'll interrupt Her Majesty's announcement of the next speaker," he said. "It has to be bold enough that the gala comes to a complete halt." As the Queen stepped down and moved to a reception line, Harry pressed his small earpiece receiver. A curt whisper crackled. "Now," he said. DiCaprio raised his phone and panned it toward Chalmers's table. His voice trembled slightly with urgency. "This is Leonardo DiCaprio, live at Buckingham Palace. We have uncovered irrefutable proof that a senior palace advisor is colluding with Sir Roland Chalmers." At that exact moment, Harry strode into the middle of the ballroom floor. The crowd's chatter dimmed to a murmur. Harry cleared his throat and tapped a side mic stand. "Your Majesty, if I may." The Queen turned slowly, her gaze sharp. Others in the room, William, Prince Andrew, a smattering of foreign dignitaries, looked startled. Harry continued, "I'm here to present evidence of a crime against our shared cause. What you see on that screen is not a doctored video or a political stunt, it is the truth." He nodded toward DiCaprio, who switched the phone to the projector feed. Instantly, faces around the room were illuminated by a harsh, flickering image, the document ledger showing Chalmers's donations rerouted into accounts tied to Ivory shipments. The room went silent as the evidence unfolded: bank statements, shipping manifests, intercepted emails reading, "Ensure the crates are labeled as diplomatic cargo and deliver to Port of Antwerp." DiCaprio narrated in a low voice, "These donations were not funding conservation work. They financed an Ivory cartel operating in secret. Chalmers and a palace advisor have been laundering this money right under our noses." Gasps echoed. Chalmers's face, pale and crumpled, turned to the Queen. Harry approached him and held up the plastic bin. "These ledgers were stored in a vault beneath the palace. We retrieved them 15 minutes ago. You cannot deny their contents." A high-ranking aide, Lord Nicholas Wainwright, stepped forward, his face a pale mask. "This is preposterous, Your Highness. We demand verification before we accuse a loyal subject." Harry's jaw set. "I will provide every document. The Metropolitan Police will be here in 5 minutes to investigate." Chalmers attempted to speak, but DiCaprio cut in. "All of this will be publicly available in 1 hour. The world deserves to know how deep this betrayal goes." Within moments, palace security moved in. Chalmers was escorted away in handcuffs, as stunned guests murmured among themselves. Queen Elizabeth maintained her composure, gazing at Harry with a blend of disappointment and pride. DiCaprio slipped back into a hush-filled shadow near the entrance, his pulse finally slowing. By 10:30 that night, cleanup crews were clearing the room. Outside, television screens in front of Buckingham Palace flashed headlines: "Chalmers arrested, royal scandal exposed by DiCaprio and Prince Harry." Reporters clamored to speak to Harry, while DiCaprio gave a brief statement. "Tonight, we prove that no cause is too noble to be corrupted. Wherever there is greed, we must stand against it." Harry, stepping onto the palace terrace, glanced at the dark sky. The wind tugged at his collar. DiCaprio approached him quietly. "You okay?" Harry exhaled, his tension easing. "We did it," he said. "We saved something bigger than wealth, our integrity." He paused. "But this is just the beginning. There are still loose ends: the advisor who helped Chalmers, the other shipments we haven't traced yet." DiCaprio placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Then we keep searching. Together." They walked down the palace steps side by side, two unlikely allies drawn together by a shared commitment to expose corruption. On the terrace ledge behind them, a single fleur-de-lis crept into view, a reminder that power can be both noble and dangerous, depending on how each person uses it. In the days that followed, the palace convened a special inquiry commission chaired by a senior British judge. World media coverage flooded in: front-page headlines, analysis of every leaked document, and endless debates about how a royal advisor could betray public trust. DiCaprio returned to Los Angeles, but he continued to post updates from his foundation's verified accounts, vowing to fund a global task force to dismantle Ivory networks. Prince Harry stayed in London, working with his brother Prince William to overhaul palace security and reassign advisors to ensure no future betrayal of this scale could occur. The scandal rocked Buckingham Palace to its core. Yet it also proved that, even within the most ancient institutions, individual courage and moral clarity can topple conspiracies. Leo's speech at the United Nations 2 weeks later reflected the same resolve: "When we expose the darkness, we offer the world a chance to see the light. Our planet's most vulnerable creatures depend on us to act, and if a Hollywood actor and a member of the British royal family can stand together in the same cause, perhaps there's hope yet." Prince Harry, in private moments, would recall that tense walk down Buckingham's cobblestones, recalling the thrill of slipping past security cameras, the cold steel of that vault door, and DiCaprio's steady voice echoing through the library. In a world where fame and privilege often meant secrecy and insularity, they had chosen transparency over comfort. That gala night, beneath Buckingham's gilded ceilings, a new chapter began. One in which power was no longer a shield for wrongdoing, but a tool for accountability. And in the centuries to come, when historians wrote about the fall of Sir Roland Chalmers and the palace insider who betrayed the crown, they would say that it was a simple unsigned note delivered to a Hollywood star, "Look for Prince Harry," that started it all.